take this opportunity, however, to suggest that we all hail heroic. Oh, that's all I'm saying.
Forgive me, Doctor. I'm receiving a number of distress calls. I don't doubt it.
Y'all remember to tip your waitresses. Have a mighty fine night.
You come in peace, surrender or be destroyed. Dare to make war, we surrender. All good. Important thing is I'm giving you peace.
When the appointed hour arrives, the Marauders will deactivate their cloaking devices and begin transporting Klingon shock troops directly to the landing zone.
Landing zone? Where? Tell me.
Why not? Your feeble weapons will be useless against us. We will kill all your males and take your females to mate with.
All right. Now the Federation's taking over, whether you like it or not. You people, you've been running this planet like a seaport planet. From now on, it's gonna be under one roof. You're gonna run it like a business. That means you're gonna make a profit.
Look at these 3 words written larger than the rest.
With a special pride never written before, or sings tall words proudly saying, "We the people."
Hi, I'm Nicole DeBoer. I played Lieutenant Esri Dax on DS9, and I welcome you to Bird O' Prey 5 channel. Hail Karoga.
Hello world, it's Bird O' Prey 5 Qapla, and welcome to Deep Space Nine Wednesday for Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020. And yes, I was late. Not my fault. I'm about to throw my software under the bus. XSplit decided that I had to relog into YouTube. So I went to relog into YouTube. Should be NBD, no big deal. But apparently the coders at XSplit are either not paying for or not using the correct YouTube authentication key, because it said that basically too many people have already used their API key and they couldn't log me in to my own account, which meant I had to go back. First, it meant I had to try it a second time, and when it still didn't work, I had to go back and manually set up an RMTP connection with a stream key and a channel URL and all this other stuff. So I don't even know if it's working right. I hope the numbers are right. It looks like no drop frames. It looks like we are broadcasting in 1080p, but it was all a shit show to start the stream. I'm shocked. I was only 4 minutes late to start, and then another 2.5 minutes for the intro, and here we are. That said, I started early than usual, so really shouldn't feel too bad. Started at 4. It was aiming for 4. We'll call it a 4:05 start. Which usually it's 55 minutes earlier than I normally aim for. So Not Ryan Johnson was first in the chat that I could see. Said hello in Qapla, to which I said Qapla back. And Not Ryan Johnson says, hello world, it's not Bird O' Prey 5, Qapla. And welcome to Crystal Skull Wednesdays. Today we will be watching Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. We will not, but that's what he wrote. Viva Karoga, says Karoga Night Qapla, and Viva Karoga indeed. And with that, I can switch to reading comments on this side of the screen because the rest were all lost. 54.5 Access Radio says, coming in 2021, Alex Kurtzman proudly presents Star Trek The Crystal Skull. I wouldn't be surprised. And Dan23 says, so this is part one of a 2-part episode. Yes, the next episode is Paradise Lost. And while it's not technically part 1, part 2, it does say to be continued. And then on the next episode, it says, previously on. And Dan23 says, actually, Stargate SG-1 did an episode with the Crystal Skull. I remember a Crystal Skull episode of SG-1. Mako says, when will Jodie transition to Joanne D? I heard that's all the rage these days, plus women get more clicks. That is true. Women do get more clicks. I've often considered just hiring a woman of decent looks to just read my previous scripts and just re-upload them all with a woman's face and a woman's body and a woman's voice and watch the money roll in. But alas, I will play the card to which I was dealt and will stick with me. Plus, if I change to Joanne D, people would confuse me with Mamo Prey. Dee Dee Myers says, what's up, all you sexy and wonderful people? I guess Dee Dee is blind or has some type of eyesight issues. All you sexy and wonderful people, as everyone is having an amazingly awesome day. Just got to love the cold. Where am I? Where you am at it cold this morning. Warm in daylight, cold in the evening. I mean, warm in daylight, I assume they mean, and cold in the evening. Joseph Patrick says, I will be literally pissed off if this is not a double feature. We are starting an hour earlier, so I do not want to be disappointed. Uncle Remus says, rip Pat Peterson, WWE legend. What? Patterson? I'm not familiar with the WWE really, but rest in peace, Pat Patterson, Uncle Remus. I unfortunately have no face to go with the name. Rock Solid says, Joseph, you never said anything so true in your life. You got me. You got me. I did start early so that if I was feeling up to it, we could do a double feature today. I do have Paradise Lost queued up. And if all's going well, come the time we finish Homefront, I was going to go ahead and extend it to Paradise Lost. And I even went ahead and made a second thumbnail for the video. So if after the fact we do go ahead and do Paradise Lost, I'll have a thumbnail for both Homefront and Paradise Lost for this video. You got me. You saw through it. I thought I could sneak one by you, but clearly you guys are pretty smart. Well done. Rock Solid says, Uncle Remus, I saw that today. Have you had any news of the cause of death? Not Ryan Johnson says, hashtag birds late, hail on Karoga. Uncle Remus says, old age, COVID, not sure. Rock Solid says, Uncle Remus, same here. Didn't know if they released anything. I hadn't heard he was sick or anything. Wesley Crusher says, Bird of Prey, we are waiting. I'm sorry, Wes. He says, come on, start. Mike Richards says, greetings from Columbus, Ohio. Qapla, Mike Richards, and greetings to you. Uncle Remus says, UK's Burn also died today. He played Immortal Joe in Mad Max, Fury Road, and Toe Cutter in the original 1979 Mad Max film. Again, unfortunately, I don't know these people. Uncle Remus gives a big FU to 2020. Wesley says, Bird of Prey, are you going to start soon? I was trying to start, Wes. As you were typing this, I was fighting with XSplit and YouTube. Rock Solid says, hashtag, we want the show, we want the show. And dear Bop, dear Bop. Well, you're going to get half of that, Rock Solid. Joseph says, the late bird of the galaxy. I'm not the late bird of the galaxy. Mego says, bird fell asleep, the show is canceled. No. Not Ryan Johnson says, aha, Bird of Prey is late because Crystal Skull is on MTV2 again. He can't get enough of that movie. Mike Richards puts in the Z's because he thinks I'm sleeping. Rock Solid is again saying hashtag we want the show, hashtag Dear Bop. Wesley Crusher says, okay, bread now, bye. Bread now? Oh, bored. Well, bye, Wes. I'm sorry you left. Maybe you stayed. Oh, Wesley's back. Yay. Life with Matthew says Qapla, bird of prey, and all Qapla life with Matthew. Alai says Qapla, alai hoo. He says hi to y'all. Not Ryan Johnson says, and now bird is even later due to the intro. But at least I started. Wesley says bird is 5 minutes late. Dee Dee Myers says Qapla, bird of prey. How's the whole family? Doing fairly well. Dee Dee, I think everybody is okay. Siso Prey got some decent news that she will officially be moving at the end of the month or before the end of the month. So she's going to have a lot of work to do. Eastland Burkholder says, here we had a sunny day and are expecting rainy weather for a few days. Well, that's fine. A little sun, a little rain, you mix it up. Ungarima says, volume is low and bird is late. Well, I fixed the volume for the intro. The microphone, I'm sure, is fine. Wesley says, bird of prey, I only come to the stream to hear myself say Qapla. Because, yes, in the intro, Wesley asks Robert Riley to say Gowron to say Qapla. Qapla. Thank you again, Wes. Dr. Scotty says, yes, bird is here. Welcome, Dr. Scotty. Joseph says, streaming at 10 ADP. 10 p.m.? I don't know what that means. Was that your time zone, ADP? Eastland Burkholder says, never apologize for not reading all the comments. Okay, thank you, Eastland. Roxod says, bird of prey, I don't have any of those issues with OBS or Streamlabs. OBS, just saying. Yes, well. Moxley fan says, hi, bird. Qapla, Moxley fan, good to see you. And says hello to Rock Solid as well. Rock Solid says, hey to Moxley. And Uncle Remus mentioned Patterson's passing in here too. Have you heard any cause of death? Wesley says, Kurogan internet sucks. I should know. I use it. No, Kurogan internet is great, Wes. You haven't had a chance to use the real Kurogan internet yet. Admiral Saval is in the house. Says, yo, bird, Qapla, Admiral. Not Ryan Johnson says, rock solid. From what I can see, Patterson passed away from cancer. That's sad to hear. Rock solid says, not Ryan Johnson. I had no idea. F cancer, absolutely. And Wesley says, bird of prey, I'm sorry. I'm still here. I don't know why I am no work soon. Well, Wes, if you got to go to work, take care. But hope you have a good afternoon at work. And Wesley says, where is Siso Prey moving to? New Jersey. She's gonna move into my cousin's old place, and cousin Dibbs is moving on up to a bigger, better place since he's had a second child. And Siso Prey is gonna move into where he was, and she'll be going from a small 1-bedroom apartment to a decent-sized house with multiple floors. So she's got to get gates and stuff to keep Charlie from climbing up and down steps, as he surely will be doing soon. Rock Solid says, we want the show. I know. So do I. I want the show as well. So let's head over, guys. If you've never been here before, head over to the Bird of Prey 5 screening room. The address is in the bottom of the screen there, https://birdofprey5.com/SR lowercase. In the screening room, it'll be synced up to what you can see on YouTube. You'll see a screenshot every 10 seconds. The screening room will, let me open that. The screening room will show, okay. The screening room will show the actual episode with the audio and video so that you can watch along as if you were watching here with me. I will turn off the computer audio so that it doesn't bleed through. Uncle Remus says, New Jersey, maybe she'll be a neighbor. Maybe. Uncle Remus, maybe. Roxanne says, Bird of Prey, don't call Clone Shirley. I did not call Nephew of Prey Shirley. Wesley says, Bird of Prey, Cousin Dibs, is that the cousin that gets everything first? Aha, no, it's Cousin Dibs shows up on the stream from time to time. He has his own Twitch channel where he plays Call of Duty Warzone and some other such games quite a bit. He has a much fancier setup than I do now. He started after me, and now he has a very fancy setup. He has his own room where he does this, and God only knows what he's going to have at his new house. At his old house, he had lights that would blink and sync with the sound in the game and all these fancy things on the screen. And, just he went all out for a Twitch channel, blew this stuff away. But that's a different audience. That's a different audience. And Roxanne says, Bird of Prey, BS, you did call Clone of Prey Shirley. I just don't recall doing that, but if you say so. Roxanne says, DD, thanks for the comment on this morning's video, by the way. Very cool. Yes, Roxanne put out a video this morning. No, I didn't watch it. If it was the one about the Nintendo Switch things, I didn't have a Switch, so I apologize, but I just wasn't really something I could use. So, and I was quite busy, so I skipped that particular video, rock solid. But next one, I will do my best to catch. Okay, so we're going to head over to the screening room, which again, the link is, the URL is right below where it says Bird of Prey 5. And we are going to go ahead and I will count down and I'll hit play. So again, this is Deep Space Nine, Season 4, Episode 11. The original air date of this was January 1st, 1996. So we jumped from November to January. That's Mono Prey. So yeah, so we did jump from November to January for this, and we're going to go ahead and start watching. We're going to count down. And Rockstar says, yes, this morning was about the Switch. We're up 300 subs plus since Monday. Friday's video, we'll be looking at the Hog PVR 60 Pro capture card. Excellent. Very cool. Rock solid. Very cool. Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play. The wormhole is opening. It's open. It's the 7th time in the last 2 hours the wormhole's opened. And Sisko says they have no idea what's causing it. Dax says it seems to be random, no unusual readings, no ships coming through. The Bajorans say maybe it's a message from the prophets. He says, well, if there is, they didn't tell him. You don't need that anymore.
I don't think so. She's just about done.
So they don't know what it is. And there's Odo. So she's like, is something funny happening? So Odo came out. So now Ops is hailing Sisko. They're getting a priority message from Starfleet Security. Sisko's on his way. Now Quark is talking to Morn. He says, then the Andorian says, that's not my antenna. And he says, why do I bother? Morn doesn't laugh. Odo comes in and says, Dax, where is she? And Quark's like, she's not here. Is there anything I can do for you? He says, you find this very funny. You and Dax probably planned this together. It's like, what? He's like, moving my furniture. He's like, is this what this all about? Someone moved your furniture? He's like, no, not someone, Commander Dax. She breaks into his quarters while he's regenerating and moves all of his furniture out of the alignment. Something 3 centimeters to the right, then 4 centimeters to the left. Not one object is where it's supposed to be. And Quark says, is that a bad thing? And Odo's like, everything I own is painstakingly arranged, and Dax knows this, but she takes a personal delight. And she takes personal delight in making his quarters chaos. He says, I hardly call 3 centimeters chaos. And Odo's like, I do. He's like, you humanoid, you have no sense. No sense of order, and Dax is the most human of all you humanoids. So, Odo gets called to security, to ops, and Quark says, when you see Dax, say hello. T-Berg says, I love rearranging Berto Prey's Space Engineer base. So they're talking in ops, and they declared a planet-wide day of mourning. They talked about how many people were dead, so we know something bad happened. 10 minutes ago, a high-level diplomatic council meeting took place between the Federation and the Romulans. And they're replaying. And there was a big explosion, and then static. A bomb of unknown composition. Hasn't been committed on Earth in over 100 years. Now go back, and they're gonna zoom in. 1/10 normal speed. Freeze picture. Enlarge. Enlarge and enhance. Enlarge and enhance. Keep your eye on the piece of pottery. We zoom at 1/10 speed. And the pottery, for some unknown reason, turns into a changeling. Right before the explosion. No sign of a changeling was found in the explosion. So they have to assume it escaped unharmed. Sisko says, I hope this would never happen, but it finally has. The changelings have reached Earth. Son of a bitch. I accidentally canceled the call. I don't know. Yeah, just hold on to it if they call back. While all this is going on, Mamo Prey is getting a shipped delivery, and even though we give these people instructions on what to replace what with and where to leave the stuff, for some reason they find it necessary to call us to confirm the changes. Not all of them, but this particular person has decided to call and call and call when they could have texted or messaged, or better yet, read the effing instructions, to which Mamo Prey spent 10 minutes typing out so that they wouldn't need to contact us. Don't complain. I will hum the next one. Okay, I will hum the second episode. And I can't hum 2 episodes after all. You guys would get all... You'd be overhummed. Overhummed. Wesley says, T-Berg, is that why you put a bomb under his base? He probably did. T-Berg says, Klingons and their clogged exhaust pipes. Roxal says, Berto Prey, I will complain if I want to complain. It's okay. It's okay. What's the matter, Mamo Prey? And now Dax is moving the furniture back in place. He says another centimeter to the left. And Dax like, shouldn't you be on the Dakota? And Odo's like, it won't depart for another hour, which gives plenty of time for Dax to repair the damage he's done. And he wants her solemn word. She's going to stay out of his quarters. She gives it. He has no idea how long he'll stay on Earth. He just hopes it's not a waste of time. He doesn't know what else he can tell Starfleet that hasn't been in the reports. Dax says, believer, with changelings on Earth, Starfleet can use all the help they can get. And Odo says a little bit more to the left. Dax is struggling. Oh, we got Sisko's dad. He's like, wait till you see the size. Is that what? I don't know what. The shrimp or the whatever. He's like, how's Judith? He sent Judith home. Sister's got her own life. Your sister's got your own life to worry about. Yes, this is where we find out that Sisko has a sister that we never ever see. And spoiler alert, for the rest of the series, we will never see Judith Sisko, or whatever her last name might be now. So Ben is saying this isn't a vacation. He's going to be spending most of his time at Starfleet headquarters. And the father is saying, what you do during the day is your business, but at dinner time, you better find yourself here. No son of his is going to eat replicated slop that Starfleet is given. And Sisko's like, okay. Now he's asking his dad if he's feeling okay. He says the dad looks a little tired. And he's, how's the new aorta holding up? Doctors say he's a medical marvel. The way things going in a year or two, he won't have an original organ left in his body. They're going to write him up in the medical books. And he said, just point him in the direction of a party and a pretty girl, and he'll show her how healthy he is. He says, oh, just call when him and Jake get there. Their rooms are always ready. He says, don't worry, Dad, we'll be there before you know it. Jake's carrying the baseball glove. He just missed Grandpa. He says, did you tell him we're staying in San Francisco? And Sisko forgot. He says, you know, if we stay with Grandpa, he's going to put me to work in the kitchen. And Sisko's like, is that so bad? Jake's like, oh, chopping vegetables for 9 hours a day isn't his idea of vacation. He's like, you're not a child anymore. Grandpa won't expect you to chop vegetables. He'll expect you to wait tables. Oh, and now O'Brien and Dr. Bashir are all dressed up. And the barkeep, he wants a scotch, neat, and a pint of your finest bitter for my mate. And they said, make it quick. So, to Clive, the best blunt ever to whatever the sky. Got to keep it stiff up a loop. Wow, they're drinking it all in one shot. Don't smash the glass. And remember what he said about throwing glasses. Mountains of Elysium says, greetings, Bert O'Prey, Mom O'Prey, Sis O'Prey, Nephew O'Prey, and fellow nerds. Everything okay, Ma? Is something wrong? Rock Solid says, Bird of Prey, Sisko's dad has an aorta, and the valve or the thing that goes to the heart. You know what I'm talking about. So Quark is saying he something about rampant inflation that was going through. He was having a nightmare. He felt so helpless. Inflation was going on Ferenginar. He does understand. So O'Brien says somehow him telling that doesn't make him feel the least bit better. Quark is like, humans. All you care about is yourselves. So now they call Odo over. O'Brien. And he says, he takes the battle of Britain has been young yet again. And Bashir says there's a Spitfire waiting with Odo's name on it. He could take Clive's place when he gets back. Odo asks him to check in on, I don't know. his wife's parents to make sure they're okay. Bashir said that there's nobody he needs to look up for him. Odo says he wishes they were going with him. He doubts that a shapeshifter would be welcomed on Earth. And Odo's like, they won't hold you responsible for what your people is doing. He's like, oh, really? Bashir tells him good luck. And Odo says, I don't believe in luck, but I appreciate the sentiment. And you better change out of their Battle of Britain uniforms. Roxanne says if Sisko Dads was a pirate, he'd have an R Orta. R Orta. The wormhole has returned to normal. There weren't any more recent changes, and Kira says she wanted to believe it was the prophets. They were going to reveal themselves to the Bajorans, and this is where Worf says that his gods are dead. They were killed. They're more trouble than they're worth. And she says, I don't think I'll ever understand Klingons. And O'Brien says, that's the way they like it. And Kira laughs. Okay, so Admiral Legman, Captain Sisko, Commander Bendington, or whatever. And Sisko was his executive officer on the Okinawa. He says he's had his share of executive officers, and he's the only one he speaks fondly of. Says Admiral Layton is the one who recommended him for the job at Deep Space Nine. And this must be Odo, yes. Says, forgive me for staring. You're the first changeling I've ever met. And the lady says, that you know of. He says, I sympathize with your problems. Uncovering changeling infiltrators is no simple task. He's like, well, with the help of you two, it should be a little easier. They'd like to confer with him and Odo, see if there's anything about the founders he left out of the official reports. Odo's like, I'll help any way I can, but my reports were quite thorough. He says, Admiral, I doubt you brought us all this way for a debriefing. He's like, Ben, Earth is in danger. Maybe the greatest danger since the last World War. Something has to be done about these shapeshifters, which is why you're here. You know more about the Dominion than anyone in Starfleet. So effective immediately. I'm making you acting head of Starfleet security here on Earth. Congratulations. Quite the promotion. Roxanne says Admiral Legman, shouldn't that be a female? So we got Sisko's father giving out food to customers. He doesn't want to see anybody studying the dessert menu. If you order anything but the bread pudding souffle, you're going to make a mistake. You regret the rest of your lives. And then Sisko comes in and says, you should listen to him. The man knows his bread pudding, and they run over and they hug. And oh, Benjamin, there's Dad, and there's Jaco. Yes, Jake, when's he going to stop growing? Probably about now. He remembers when they used to tell him that the alligator was in stasis, and he'd let him out every night to guard the restaurant, and got too much trouble wrestling him back to put him back on the ceiling every night. Roxanne's Bird of Prey, that's the same actress who played Dr. Leia Brahm. She looks good, too. She looked better as Dr. Leia, but she still looks good. Leia, whatever. Dr. Alex, it's Qapla, Bird of Prey. Qapla, Dr. Alex. You sounding well. Jesse Milestone of Mindless Entertainment apparently spoke to Gary from Nerdrotic, and apparently he's keen to get in touch with me. So we shall see. Very cool, Dr. Alex. I also sent Gary a copy of your book, which I don't know if he's read it, but I know he received it a few days ago. I haven't heard from him, but I know he's got a copy of the book. T-Berg says Bram's lullaby to LaForge. Yeah. Brahms. Dr. Alex says Odo has Garfield stuck to his forehead. Well, not anymore, but yeah. Bird is Admiral Breastman, says T-Berg. The gumbo is as good as Sisko remembers. So he's like, Starfleet must be taking the shapeshifters pretty seriously to bring you all the way here from Deep Space S9. And he's like, 27 people murdered right here on Earth. Never thought I'd see the day. But he says, now that my son's on the case, I feel a lot better. And Nog comes in his cadet uniform. Captain Sisko, what do you think? He says, you look good, cadet. He says, you think so? And Jake's like, I thought I was going to see you tomorrow at the academy. He's like, and you are. I'm just here for dinner. And he says, the usual. He's like, I don't know you like Trio food. He's like, I don't. I like tube grubs. And your father is the only one on the planet who can get me live ones. He says he could cook them for human customers. He's like, what good are tube grubs? Don't wiggle on the way down. He says, they call it the academy because it's basically just school. It's a lot of work. He's doing okay. He's like, now where are those tube grubs? Sisko doesn't want to eat. I think he lost his appetite. So he's been saving a bottle of cognac for a special occasion. And Nog says there's nothing like a full stomach to make life worth living. So Jake's like, can you tell me what you're thinking? You didn't stay here till closing. Just to, you know. He's like, I know you're always looking for a good story. You're the writer. He's like, it's nothing. It's stupid. So Jake's like, okay, forget about it. Nog's like, it's just the academy's different than he thought it would be. He's like, different. He's like, some of the cadets are standoffish, especially the cadets. He's like, because of your rank? He's like, no, but he heard some of the other freshmen complain about the same thing. Little things. For instance, there's this group called Red Squad, made up of all the top students. They're always going on trips, getting special training. None of them will even talk to him. He's like, you've only been in the academy a few weeks. So you can't expect to fit in right away. Maybe one day you'll be in Red Squad. He said, just show him you're a really good guy to be around. Ah, shucks. Nog is like, I am a good guy to be around. Dr. Alex says, wow, they've met the president. They're meeting the president of Earth, or the Federation. And they're in Paris. So they have several suggestions on how to check for Dominion infiltration. So Dr. Alex says, wow, Bird of Prey, you have no idea how touched I am, but what you have done above and beyond, more than I deserve. No, it's not. To actually send him a copy of the book, thank you, words fail me. Dr. Alex, you are more than welcome. I hope it goes well, and, good luck. So the president will not disrupt the lives of the population. They've got to do something less serious. The admiral says, and he assures you that the threat's real. He's like, the president says, for all we know, there's only one changeling, and he might not even be here anymore. And Sisko's like, and if he is, there's no telling how much damage one changeling can do. And the president says, you sound a little paranoid. And he says, do I? And then Odo turns in. He came in with them. So he says, forgive the intrusion, but see, Starfleet has every right to be concerned. And he says, a very effective entrance, Mr. Odo. He says, one that never should have been allowed to take place. They were allowed to come in without being searched, without blood tests, and without having subjected to phasers. If he was a Dominion infiltrator, he could have replaced you or killed you. Killed or replaced you. Even you. All he wants is their permission to increase security at Starfleet installations here on Earth. Blood tests will be limited to high-ranking officials, Starfleet officers, and their families. The average citizen wouldn't even know the difference. Well, there's a big problem with that. You can do it for Starfleet officers, of course. You could do it for families living on Starfleet installations, like the Enterprise. But you can't just do it for families. That makes zero sense, okay? If my brother, who doesn't live with me, signs up for the Army or the Navy or the Space Force, that doesn't in any way affect me personally. They don't lose any of my rights because he signed up for the military. Now, if I was living with him, sure, that makes total sense. If I was living on a base with him, that makes sense. But if he's living with me and I live in my house, no, I don't lose any rights. So they're doing phaser testing, and Odo definitely experienced discomfort. The setting was 3.1. He said if we set the phasers to 3.4, they should be able to stun any changeling. And Odo's like, I'd push it to 3.5 just to be on the safe side. Why don't you push it to 10? He's like, but if you want to do any more tests, find a new guinea pig. He's been shocked enough. So Sisko says 3.5 it is. He wants them installed in every room in Starfleet headquarters. And they want to thank him. Thank him for what? Thank him for convincing the president to install this stuff. Now, again, this shouldn't be the president's decision. If it's inside Starfleet, then that would be Starfleet matter. The president should have no say over it. So Nog came in and he wants to speak to Sisko in private. Odo is a little peeved. He didn't get a thank you. He was the one who got shocked. So Nog says, Sisko says, Jake says you're having difficulty in school. And he says, Jake told you? And he's like, Jake tells me everything. He says, we always knew it was going to take a while to get you to adjust to you and you to adjust to the academy. And Nog is like, it turned out to be even more difficult. He's like, you're just going to have to stick with it. He's like, I intend to. He came up with a way to make new friends, but he needs Sisko's help. He wants to join Red Squad. Sisko's like, what the hell's Red Squad? He's like, I've never heard of Red Squad. It's an elite squad of cadets at the academy, the best of the best. They get special classes, simulated missions, off-campus training, all kinds of things. He says, a group of elite cadets. I never had that anything when I was here. Or maybe he just didn't know about it. He's like, it's pretty new. It's a way of rewarding excellence. He has the grades to qualify, but he needs to be sponsored by a high-ranking officer. And he says, so you want put his name in to put it in for consideration. So if he has the grades to qualify for Red Squad, why did he tell Jake that he was just doing okay earlier? If this is the best of the best, he's got to be doing amazing. So Nog says thank you. Sisko said he'd think about it. Nog says thank you, and he gets dismissed. Sisko's he knows he's gonna do it. He knows he's gonna do it. T-Berg says it's okay. We'll increase security and scan people wearing orange dye or makeup. So Sisko comes back to see his dad. He apologizes. He's been busy. Things have gotten busy. Dad asks if you're going to tell him about it. He says, I'm afraid he can't talk about it. He says, you think that Admiral could spare him for a few hours a day to visit your father? Then were you in San Francisco and Jake off visiting that school in New Zealand? Seems like the two of them aren't even here. And Sisko says, you know, Dad, you could come visit us at the station once in a while. He's like, don't start that. Earth's my home. What would happen if I went gallivanting around the galaxy? You think Nathan can handle this place on his own? He says, Nathan's going to be running things around here really soon if you don't take better care of yourself. He had a talk with your doctor. You haven't seen him in 8 months. He says, the man's an idiot. He says he's lived for 20 years, and he can't tell the difference between Creole food and Cajun food. And, oh no, Sisko says he can tell the difference between a healthy body and one with progressive arterial sclerosis. He says, if you don't do the therapy, it's restaurants will be looking for a new owner. And he's like, at his age, staying healthy is a full-time job, and he's too old to work 2 jobs. He's like, now how long before you do back at Starfleet headquarters? Got about an hour. And he says, just enough time to take a walk to the park. Are you up for a stroll? And Sisko says he can't think of anything he'd rather do. Dan says his dad's not dead. No, he's not. What's Mom? It's okay. So Odo was flying around as a bird.
No.
There's nothing.
The front. It's +8. I'm trying to get it said +7.
Nothing says +8. Oh, 8 messages. It's nothing to worry about.
Oh, okay.
It just means there's 8 other messages that came up. I'll check them.
Oh, that's all.
I'm sorry. I thought you said you were heard a noise.
Every time a message.
I gotcha. They say they completed their order and they're on their way. But that was 5 minutes ago. Yeah, it was nothing.
Oh. And
so Odo is about to figure out that is somebody suspicious, and he puts out his hand and he forces the handshake, and he detects he's a changeling. And the guy says, well done, Odo. And then he kicks Odo away, and he says he's fine. And then the other changeling turns into a seagull and flies away. So then the real admiral is there. Like, how did he know it wasn't him? And Odo's like, it's not, he doesn't know, but it's like he could feel the changeling's hostility towards him. Odo's the only changeling who's ever harmed another. So Admiral Lakeman says, like, why was he imitating me? He's got access to all the security procedures. The bottom line is that the changeling infiltrated Starfleet headquarters, imitated the Admiral, and got away scot-free. We're not doing enough. Sisko says, we're doing everything the President will allow. Odo says we could talk to the President again. The Admiral says it'd be a waste of time. The President is a fine president during peacetime, but he just cares about not upsetting people. But humans are tougher than he thinks. We've created a paradise here, and we're going to fight to protect it. Sisko says, and you think the President isn't willing to fight? And he says, I think the President's a long way from home. This isn't his world. We can't expect him to care about it like we do. And he says, his son is trying to contact him. It's urgent. Jake, what's the matter? Dad, you better get down here right away. It's Grandpa. He's been arrested. Son of a bitch. Dan23, Bird of Prey, I don't know what Creole food is. I'm not even sure how you spell it. Creole. C-R-E-O-L versus Cajun. C-A-J-U-N. I'll be honest, I'm not sure I could tell the difference either. So, Starfleet security is trying to do a blood test on the father. He's not going to submit to blood screenings. He's like all family members of Starfleet personnel are required to submit to blood screenings, no exceptions. He says, I'm not going to do that. He's like, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Do you believe that, Ben? And Sisko's like, I know, I do believe it. I signed it for it. And he's like, why would you do something that's stupid? And then Jake says, I'll take the test first. It doesn't hurt. And so they did it to Jake. And then Sisko says, now me. And the guy's like, sir, it's not necessary. He's like, do me. And so he watches it do to Sisko. They just take out a little blood. They move it around. And he's okay. So he's like, okay, it's your turn, Dad. And he says, Jake, do you think I'm a shapeshifter? He's like, come on, Grandpa. He's like, answer the question. No, I don't think you're a shapeshifter. At least somebody in the family has some sense. He's like, Sisko's like, Dad. He's like, take these vampires to either sit down and grab a meal or get out of my restaurant. So Sisko says, Jake, get them a menu. And then the guy says, but sir, and Sisko says, I would recommend the shrimp Creole. And he says, listen, you've got to take the test. He said, why? If I was an enemy spy, I think I could come away with better choices than an old chef. He says, you're probably right. But this isn't about you. We've got Starfleet families living on starships and Starfleet installations all over the Federation. The only way we can secure those facilities is to test every one of them, whether they wear a uniform or not. He's like, I'm not living on a Starfleet installation. He says, Dad, if we test the family of one Federation officer, we must test them all. No, you do not. That is absolutely bunk. Okay? If I was living on a starship, I would have given up some rights to be living there. Okay? He's absolutely right. The father's absolutely right. He has total rights to be as thick-headed as he wants. He didn't take an oath to Starfleet. And Sisko's like, can't you just cooperate one time? You don't go to the doctor. You won't let Judith help you in the restaurant. Just one time. Please do what you're asked. He says, I wish I could. But what you're asking me to do is wrong. You want me to wear a mask? Wrong. You can't make people saying to prove who they are. There's no way to live, and he's not going to go along with it. He says, now, if you want to make yourself useful, start some water boiling for the shrimp. So he says, come on, Dad, don't be this way. If I have to, I will get a warrant. He's like, and what? Hold me down and force me to give you my blood? Because that's the only way you're going to get it. And then, he cut himself. He says, now look what I've done. He cut himself with the knife. And Sisko comes and looks at the blood. He looks at the blood. And he touches the blood, I think. He just looks at it. He calls Jake. He's like, Jake, get a dermal regenerator. And he sees Sisko. And he says, Benjamin Lafayette Sisko, what the hell has gotten into you? You actually thought I was one of them, didn't you? And Sisko's like, I don't know. I wasn't sure. He's like, this business got you so twisted around, you can't think straight. You're seeing shapeshifters everywhere. He's like, maybe you ought to think about something for a minute. If I was a smart shapeshifter, a really good one, the first thing I'd do would be grab some poor soul off the street, absorb every ounce of his blood, and let it out on cue whenever someone tried to test me. Don't you see? There hasn't been a test in the world created that a smart man can't find his way around. You're not going to catch shapeshifters using some gadget. The only thing you can count on this life. And he's like, Grandpa! Oh, he has a heart attack. So Sisko's back, and he says EMT said he'll be all right. It was just a mild stroke. He's fine. How's Jake handling it? He's very upset. He knows his father doesn't take better care of himself. And Odo says he found when humanoids find what's doing best for them, humanoids have the habit of doing the opposite. What bothers Sisko is that for a few moments, he really believed his own father was a changeling. Odo said that was a reasonable assumption. Carlo Albanese says, so do they have to take a blood test every couple of minutes, or is just a one-off? Does it matter? It doesn't make any sense. He says, what if his father's right? What if all our precautions turn out to be useless? Odo says, maybe they will. It doesn't mean we should give up. My people are here. You've got to fight them with whatever you got. He's like, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, Constable. But there are times I wish you had never found your people. And Odo says, believe me, Captain. Sometimes I feel the same way. And already, Grandpa Sisko is back to waiting tables. And he said, food will be right out. Jake is begging him to sit down. And he sat down. He's like, what's that look? He's like, I'm just surprised you sat down. Like, damn right, I sat down. I just had a stroke. And he feels terrible. He's like, you should be in bed. And he's like, Jake, the only time you should be in bed is when you're sleepy, dying, or making love to a beautiful woman. He's like, I'm not tired. I'm not dying. And the truth is, he's too old for beautiful women. So he might as well be here. Ah, there's some Creole food. Dan 23. He says, the truth is you need to worry about your father. I've never seen him so tense. It's like he's carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. Jake says he is. And now the power went out. Dan, bird of prey, do you like to eat shrimp and other seafood? I like shrimp. I like lobster. Crab legs are okay. Not a hell of a lot of other fish. So Earth's entire power grid is out. The entire planet is out. All the power relays are out. The entire planet. Everything's doubt. Installations, defenses, everything's done. If the Dominion attacks now, Earth won't stand a chance. How is it that all these systems are so intertwined? It's a terrible design. So the president is not interested in excuses. It's imperative we get the power relays functioning again. Now, it was nighttime in San Francisco. I guess it's morning in Paris. So he's like, how did you guys get here? He's like, we contacted the Lakota and used their transporters. He's like, I must advise you to declare a state of emergency. He's like, are you serious? With the exception of the Borg incident, there hasn't been a state of emergency on Earth in the century. He's like, I'm aware of that, but I have reason to believe Dominion war fleet is in the Alpha Quadrant headed for Earth. He's like, do you have evidence to back this up? Like, just before we left Deep Space Nine, the wormhole was exhibiting unusual behavior, opening and closing for no apparent reason. He's like, we didn't detect any ships, but they could have been using some kind of cloaking technology. The president says, I wasn't aware the Dominion had cloaking tech. And Odo says the combined Cardassian and Romulan fleet had cloaking devices. Who knows what these people may have taken from the wreckage. And I've got to shut the camera off for a minute so Mamo Prey can go to the door. So the only thing they can do is shut down the entire grid, purge everything. It would take days, and that's why it's imperative we declare a state of emergency. This is what good would it do to declare a state of emergency? We have no way to defend ourselves. He says they can use the Lakota's transporters to mobilize every Starfleet officer in less than 12 hours. They've been preparing for something like this for a long time. They've stockpiled weapons. They've got an entire army can be outfitted. He's like, what you're doing is declare martial law. He's like, what I'm asking you to do is defend this planet. We don't know what the changelings will do next, but we have to be ready. Ben, tell them. Tell them, Ben. Sir, the thought of filling the streets with armed troops is as disturbing to me as it is to you, but not as disturbing as the thought of a Jem'Hadar army landing on Earth without opposition. The Jem'Hadar are the most brutal and efficient soldiers he's ever encountered. They don't care about the conventions of war or protecting civilians. They will not limit themselves to military targets. They will be waging the kind of war Earth hasn't seen since the founding of the Federation. And at the same time, his people will continue to undermine Earth's defenses any way they can. The power outage is only the beginning. And the president is saying, I never sought this job. I was content to simply represent my people on the Federation Council. When they asked me to submit my name for election, I almost said no. Today, I wish I did. He's like, we appreciate your feelings, Mr. President. We don't have the time for regrets. You accepted the job and now it's yours, Mr. President, says Odo. There are people right now huddled in the dark, terrified. What to do next? They're waiting for a sign, something to be sure everything will be okay. But they won't wait long. Fear is a powerful and dangerous thing. If you don't act, if you don't show them you're not alone, the fear will surely take over. He's like, give us the authority we need, Mr. President, and we will take care of the rest, says Ben. And some random Starfleet officers in the background. And there he goes on the pad. He's declared martial law. Earth is in the hands of Starfleet. Do what needs to be done. And the Admiral says, thank you, you've made the right decision. He says, I hope you're right for all our sake. And then we see Jake looking at a candle, and Jake hears some commotion outside. And he says, Grandpa, wake up. And he's like, I'm not sleeping. He's like, you better come take a look at this. There we go. We're back. So Starfleet officers are beaming into the streets because, of course, Sisko would say, let's secure the restaurant first. To be continued. To be continued in the next episode, Paradise Lost. Okay, Paradise Lost, which is episode 12. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to watch episode 12 right after these short commercial break. We'll be right back.
The new issue of TV Guide magazine.
I'm Maud Adams. For natural flavor, I like cod. A lot, because cod beverages are made with real honest-to-goodness fruit, like sweet, juicy oranges, tart lemons and limes, luscious strawberries and raspberries, and succulent grapes. 30 delicious flavors, including diet flavors, non-carbonated flavors, and the best fruit beer you've ever tasted. All natural, all great. Enjoy the good taste of cod.
Natural tastes better, so it's got to be good.
I've been on my feet 6 hours. You know how I feel? I feel like dancing.
Sheer energy.
It makes me feel like dancing.
Sheer energy.
It makes my legs feel that good. Sheer Energy pantyhose look terrific. And they stimulate, refresh, and massage my legs. So I really feel like dancing.
Try Sheer Energy, because nothing beats a great pair of legs.
Sears gives your casual wardrobe a fresh spring look with this week's Wardrobe Essentials sale. First denim jeans, now just $9.99. So comfortable they feel as good as they fit. And you save $4. Add a lively spring shirt for just $5.99. Easy care and you save $3. Shirts in assorted solids and prints. These Wardrobe Essentials are on sale through Saturday. For super savings like these, you can count on Sears.
Hello, I'm Charlie McKee for Electrolux. And this is an America that used to be. A time when companies brought vacuum cleaners to your home, because that's the best place to judge a vacuum. Today, few companies do that. But Electrolux still does, because your home is still the best place to see why Electrolux is better. So open your door to Electrolux. Electrolux, your home is the best place to see why we're better.
This week, Sears teams up velour and corduroy for a sporty look at a winning price. First, corduroy pants, a super value at only $8.99. The fit super, too, and you save $5. Snuggle into a rich velour top for just $12.99. The luxury of velour in a soft knit blend, and you save $5. The pants in assorted colors, the tops in crew V and boat neck. Hurry, this sale ends Saturday at Sears, where America shops for value.
Okay. We're back. You should be able to hear me. Yes. Okay, I got to update this. Oh, yes, it's been updated. Very good. you now see across the top of the screen. It's episode 12, Paradise Lost, aired January 8th, I believe, yes, definitely, January 8th, 1996, the continuation of the previous episode. Oh, I forgot to take my pill. Let me go ahead and do that. And we'll get ahead and get ready to watch the unprecedented second parter, although we did do Way of the Warrior, but that was presented as 2 parts. This one was not. Pretzel or 2. Shut the microphone off for a second. I know. Don't play with your food. I'm aware of what they say. I'm aware what you say. John DeMarco says, hey, everyone, at least I made it in time for part 2. Welcome, John DeMarco. You could hear the credits. That's okay. I think we'll be okay. Okay, so now I've got to go ahead and open the second video of screenshots. There we go. Let's hit play till we get to the 9-second mark, and then I'll pause it. There we go. That was probably previously on Deep Space Nine. Let's see, can I shrink this window down? I can. Yes, I can. Okay, good. It's okay, Sassy. It's okay. Nothing to worry about, Sassy. Nothing to worry about. So I will now shut off the background audio again, since the commercial is off. And we are all set to go. Any new comments? Screen looks good. Audio looks good. Good. Okay, so we are still in the screening room. I'm about to hit play on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 4, Episode 12, Paradise Lost, the continuation of Homefront, which we just watched. And Uncle Remus is trying to get me extremely hungry by saying things like shrimp Alfredo, shrimp enchiladas, shrimp enchiladas, buffalo shrimp, lettuce wraps, garlic, lemon garlic shrimp, taco lime shrimp, shrimp on the Barbie, garlicky Alfredo shrimp bake, shrimp stir fry, honey walnut shrimp, garlicky shrimp, zucchini pasta, pineapple shrimp, bacon shrimp, cheddar grits, Cajun shrimp, flowels, blackened shrimp bowls. Are you Bubba Gump? Was it Bubba Gump from Forrest Gump? No, then why would his name be Gump? I guess he was just Bubba. Bubba from Forrest Gump, talking about all the shrimps he knew. Son of a bitch. Professor Brainy Specs, Qapla, Professor Brainy Specs. We're just about to start the second episode of this 2-parter. Head over to the screening room. 47 Yorktown says, hello, young sir. Sorry I'm late. How should I punish myself? No need to punish yourself. But we're about to watch the second part of a 2-parter. So just pay attention to what happened on last week's episode. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Play. Last time on Deep Space Nine. It'd be good to have you home again, Benjamin. He says, Dad, this isn't exactly a vacation. He's going to be spending most of his time in San Francisco at Starfleet headquarters. And then the admiral is there and says, Ben, Earth's in danger. Something has to be done about the shapeshifters. You know more about the Dominion than anyone in Starfleet, so effective immediately. You're acting head of Starfleet security. And then Odo turns into, or he turns into Odo, and he proves to the president that the shapeshifters are a threat. He could have killed or replaced the president. And then the father thought that Benjamin thought he was a shapeshifter because he didn't want to give his blood. He says, you're so twisted around, you can't think straight. And Dr. Leah Brahm is now a head of Starfleet security and changed her name, so LaForge couldn't follow her. And she says, we got to do more. And the whole Earth power system goes offline. Earth is defenseless. They want the president to declare martial law. And they said, what we want you to do is defend the planet. And then they declare martial law, and then they start putting Federation troops on every street corner, not realizing that there aren't possibly enough people to put Federation troops on every street corner. We got a beautiful look at Starfleet headquarters. Sisko doesn't like it. He says the more he reads Starfleet reports, there's more unanswered questions he has. How is a changeling able to infiltrate? Where did they get the codes? The computer control network. How did they manage to disable every relay on Earth at the same time? Odo is like, Captain, have you ever heard of Red Squad? He's like, yeah, they're an elite team of Starfleet cadets. They're the envy of every student at the academy. He's like, that explains it, says Odo. He's like, well, what? According to this transport log, a group called Red Squad was beamed back to Starfleet Academy 26 minutes after the state of emergency was declared. And he's like, that's strange. During the academy, they mobilized hundreds of units. Why would they demobilize one? He says, well, if they're cadets, they probably want to get them out of harm's way. He says, if that's true, how do you explain this? 10 hours later, Starfleet put the whole Corps of cadets under field duty. So he says they weren't bringing Red Squad home for their protection. So he says, why would they demobilize Red Squad only to mobilize them again 3 hours later? Because they're a giant bureaucracy, and this is what bureaucracies do. So they get back to the restaurant. It's been 4 days since the power outage. And he's like, do you see any Dominion invasion force? No. And he says, neither do I. He's at my age, I don't have time to waste. He's like, there's hardly anyone on the streets. You're not going to have any customers. He's like, we're going to have plenty of customers. Just look outside. All those hungry Federation officers. When you order them to eat here. He says, all I see are security officers. He's like, I bet not one of them has a good meal in 4 days. And he says, now do your grandfather a favor and start chopping up the okra. That's what Jake wanted to do least. And now we have, what's it, a Falovian? He's like, we want to talk about Red Squad. Odo's hiding behind the corner. So are you aware there's a Red Squad in the official records? And he's like, oh. He's like, is this a secure line? Yes, it is on my end. In one moment, he goes back. He secures his line. He's looking at Odo. He says, sorry, Captain, I think we both agree for time for caution. Does Admiral Layton know about this? He hasn't mentioned it to me. He said, listen to me, Captain. I want that record erased before anyone else can see it. Is that understood? I'll take care of it immediately, says Sisko. He says, thank you. That report could cause us a lot of trouble. I'm thankful you spotted it. He says, so am I. I'd hate the members of the Red Squad to get into any trouble. He said, they're fine young men and women. When Layton talked to me about using them, I thought it was a mistake. But I must admit, they performed their mission admirably. I appreciate your call, Captain. I'm in your debt. Shouldn't have said that last part. Shouldn't have said that last part. So Odo says, well, that certainly raises more questions than it answered. Professor Brainy... dun, 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Do 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 do. Ba 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 ba. Dun 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 dun. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Dun 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 dun. Oof. There you go. I owed you that one. I owed you that one. John DeMarco says never gets old. Paradise Lost. And there he is. What I tell you, as human as he ever was, now the grandfather's happy to give blood. He's laughing, he's smiling. Now, Sisko says, you seem cheery today. He says, what's the problem? He's like, it's just, you didn't so happy about being tested a few days ago. He says, that was before the changelings sabotaged the power grid. He says, I know, but you have to admit you're pretty adamant about it. He says, I don't understand you. When I don't want to be tested, you made an issue. Now that I'm cooperating, you're still not satisfied. And he's like, it's not you, Dad. He's like, then what is it? He's like, I'm not sure. Maybe he's just being paranoid. Ah, Nog is here. He said, Jake wanted to see, said you wanted to see me. He's like, you two talk. He's going to get some tube grubs. He's like, what can I do for you, sir? It's about Red Squad. He's like, did you get me in? Not just yet. Did you get me in? He's like, too bad. Those guys are the best. The only people who aren't afraid of the Dominion. He's like, well, why is that? He's like, I don't know. I guess they're not afraid of anything, I guess. It's like, you seem to know them pretty well. But Jake said I should get to know them better, show them that they're good guys. So far, it seems to be working. The truth is, he thinks they only like him because he knows him. Like, you're kind of the hero, the man who's something at war with the Dominion. And Sisko's like, I'd like to meet these cadets. And you think you could introduce me? And Nog says, I can't do that, sir. The names of Red Squad are secret. He's like, but you know who they are. He's like, it's not easy keeping secrets from a Ferengi. Like, plus, if I told you who they are, I'd never get in. And now Sisko's like, Cadet, you're under the mistaken impression I'm asking a favor. I want a name, I want a whatever, and that's an order. Do you understand me? Cadet Shepard reporting as ordered. And he said Starfleet service number Z3904699271, whatever the fuck. Graduate of Starfleet Academy. Specialty in security. And he said, are you aware of Red Squad activities on the record of the night of the power outage? He said, they told us there was not going to be a record. He's like, are you contradicting me? He's like, no. He's like, who told you it wasn't going to be a record? There's the briefing officer. She didn't give us her name. She said there'd be no record of their actions, and their role would have to go unrecognized, at least for now. And Sisko's like, you guys did some damn sloppy work. You fouled it up. And he says, with all due respect, sir, that's not true. It went easier than expected. It was easier than the simulations. And Sisko's like, mistakes were made. I will find out who was responsible if you think you'd save your hide. you're mistaken. He's like, that's not true, sir. I was there. If anything had gone wrong, I would have known about it. I was at planetary operations the whole time. So he says, okay, cadet, let's go over it step from step, from the time of your mission deployment to the time of your return at base. He says, yes, sir. We assembled on the Eastern Quad at 1700 hours on the evening of the 23rd. He says, I assume by we, you mean Red Squad? He's like, yes, sir. After assembly, we were beamed aboard the Lakota. Once beamed aboard, we received our equipment, necessary codes, and transported to the Division of Planetary Operations in Lisbon. 0400 local time, of course. A contact inside the DPO gave him access to computer control network. From there, we used the access codes we were given to bypass security lockouts and download the disordering protocols into the network. He's like, and from there, the protocol spread to every power relay on the planet. There's an impressive sight watching those relays wink out one after another. All they had to do was sabotage the restart sequences and get out. Like he said, it was all by the numbers. And so now it's nighttime at Sisko's restaurant. He says, and you're sure that, Odo asks, are you sure the cadet's telling the truth? He's like, he admitted to treason against the Federation. If he was going to lie, he would have made a better story. And he did the blood screening. He is human. He's like, so say he's telling the truth. His superior officers ordered him to sabotage the power grid. He says, for all we know, that the superior officers were replaced by changelings. It doesn't rule out changeling. He's like, but if it was changeling, what did they accomplished? There's been no invasion. And Starfleet has fortified everything against them. So he's like, so let's say you're right, says Odo. How? A bunch of Starfleet officers sabotaged the power grid. What are you going to do about it? Sisko says, that is the bottom line, isn't it? What am I going to do about it? Nothing. No, he was going to do something. He's like, they're not evil people, Odo. These are people I worked with. They're my friends. I mean, they don't come around anymore, but they're my friends. Like, how can I turn against them? Odo says, it seems to me, if they have committed treason against the Federation you swore to protect, you won't be turning against them. They have turned against you. Dun, 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 dun. So now Captain goes to the president. He says, I've been in politics for 70 years. I'm no, he's like, I've heard of extremes. He's like, that the plot that the Starfleet has planned to overthrow the Federation is the single most astonishing accusation I've ever heard. He's like, now start at the beginning. Oh. Odo says several months ago he learned that the changelings has infiltrated the Federation. Not long after he gave the info to Starfleet, Admiral Langton came to the president and gave a lengthy thing to protect Earth, and he disagreed with it, so they didn't do it. It's no surprise Admiral Leithman disagreed with you. He says when the conference was bombed, Leithman was convinced that the changeling posed a greater threat to Earth than you were prepared to admit. And this time Langton approached him again, this time with you two at his sides, and you agreed to his proposals. He says to some of his proposals. He wasn't satisfied. They were convinced extraordinary measures were needed. And more than that, they were determined to prove to you and to everyone else how vulnerable Earth was to a Dominion takeover. So they sabotaged the global power grid. He says, Starfleet officers committing sabotage. He's like, I know exactly how you feel, but it's the truth. He's like, I find that difficult to believe. Admiral Langton might be somewhat braiding and flexible, but a man of his distinction. And he says, I'm sure the Admiral doesn't see it as treason. He probably defended a desperate act of patriotism. He says he would say that the actions were both necessary and justified. And Odo says, just think about it. Next thing, the power grid fails and the Starfleet of security is on the streets, blood testing citizens at random. He says, your story has certain logic, but it lacks proof. He says, you want proof? Order Admiral Lathan to withdraw your troops from the street. He says, you think he'd refuse a direct order from his commander-in-chief? Sisko says, if he orders his troops to stand down, I'm wrong and I'll offer my resignation. But I don't think he will. With those troops in place, he controls Earth, and he's not going to give up control until he's convinced he's ended the Dominion threat. Greetings, Captain Trek, Qapla. He says, well, if what you said is true, it's worked perfectly. The people overwhelmingly support increased security. If he'd have a planet-wide riot on his hands. He's like, how about if we bring him the proof? Hard evidence linking at Langford to the sabotage. Then you could force Langford to stand down. Make him withdraw the troops. He says, if what you say is true, I'll have his resignation. Bring me the evidence. I promise I'll use it. That was probably the first thing he should have done. He's like, where's Cadet Shepard? Nog is here. He's like, he couldn't find him. He's gone. All of Red Squad is gone. They're all gone. The rumor is they've all been sent on some kind of training exercise. And Admiral Lathan has come in. He said, I'm surprised. Admiral Cadet Shepard won't be around anytime soon. And he orders Nog to return to his quarters. He says, Ben, I think you and I have to talk in private. Odo says, I'll be in the next room if you need me. And Odo could just turn into like a fly and fly back in. Says, might have a cup of coffee. He hasn't had a lot of sleep. He's got to pay for that coffee. Somehow, replicated coffee doesn't taste as good. Sisko is not amused. He's just got that look on his face. I'm afraid I owe you an apology, Ben. Ben says, the way I see it, you owe a lot of people an apology. He's like, I wish I could have told you the truth. Somehow I suspected we wouldn't see eye to eye on this. Like, then why did you bring me here? Because I needed to learn from you how to fight shapeshifters. He's like, and I suppose on some level, I hope that when you saw what we were accomplishing, you'd join us. You've always had a strong sense of duty. He's like, my duty is to protect the Federation. He's like, and that's what we're trying to do. He's like, what you're trying to do is to seize control of Earth and place it under military rule. Like, only if that's what it takes to stop the Dominion. Is it so you're ready to destroy paradise in order to save it? He's like, remember when we were on the Okinawa? You want to take the ship into an asteroid belt to chase down those 3 raiders? And Sisko said it was an unnecessary risk. He spoke his mind. It's exactly what a good executive officer is supposed to do. He overruled him, but after the staff meeting, he followed him into his ready room, tried to argue his point again. And remember what I told you. A good officer must respect the chain of command. There comes a time when you must accept the orders of a superior officer and carry out those officers, whether you agree with them or not. And I also told him that when you become a CO, you would feel the same way. And he says, and you were right about going after the Zenkathi, about the chain of command. He's like, without the chain of command, Starfleet would cease to function and we wouldn't stand a chance against our enemies. I'm still your commanding officer. And now more than ever, I need you to respect my authority. Respect my authority! He's like, I can't do it. Not this time. The line must be drawn here. This far, no further. Oh, wrong episode. He's like, then you're relieved as temporary head of Earth security, and you're sent back to Deep Space Nine. Go home, Ben. You don't belong here. Sisko sitting next to a fountain. Oh, it's O'Brien. Beautiful evening. He's like, Chief, how'd you get here? He's like, you don't look so good. He's like, how is your father? He's like, there's no way the Defiant could get here so soon. He's like, I didn't say I came on the Defiant. He's like, tell me the truth. Do you really believe the phaser rifles will do any good against shapeshifters? He's like, you're not O'Brien. He's like, oh, the thought of being locked into one shape all the time, it's unnatural. He's like, don't bother calling for help. It'll only cut our conversation short. And I do enjoy talking to you. Hey, if you have something to say, just say it. Like, you solids are so impatient. I thought we could sit here for a while. Maybe go to a bar, have a pint, throw some darts. Sisko says, I don't think so. He's like, well, let me ask you a question. How many changelings do you think here on Earth right at this moment? Sisko says, I'm not going to play guessing games. So what if I was to tell you there are only 4 on this entire planet? Not countable Constable Odo. Just 4 of us. And look at the havoc we've caused. It's like, how do I know you're telling me the truth? He's like, 4 is more than enough. We're smarter than solids. We're better than you. And most importantly, we do not fear you the way you fear us. In the end, it's your fear that will destroy you. He's like, are you finished? Ha 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 ha. He's like, we've barely begun. He's like, I'll be seeing you. Yeah, I guess you just better let him walk away. What could you really do? It's not like you've got a phaser on you, right? Oh, now Sisko's back at the restaurant. The father recognizes that look. The look that says something's bothering me, and I don't know what to do about it. You want to tell him about it? He's like, I can't tell you about it, Dad. The Nafe Beaumont kind of thing? I don't. Nafe Beaumont. What a crush he had on her. Not that you'd admit it. You just sit around her for weeks, planning away, trying to sort it all out. So he finally sat you down one day and gave him some advice. There comes a time in every man's life when he must stop thinking and start doing. And the next day you finally went over and asked her out. And she turned him down. He said, but at least you weren't brooding anymore. And when Joy Phillips moved in the neighborhood a few weeks later, you asked her out before her parents were done packing, and he dated her for 3 years. He's like, I guess what you're telling me is I have to stop brooding and making a decision. Says, exactly. Says, thank you to Dad. Don't mention it. Professor Brainy Specs is putting in a lot of chats. And he wonders whatever happened to Zoe Phillips. Zoe Phillips, says Sisko. He's like, Captain, why are you transmitting on a Bajoran signal? He's calling Kira. He's like, we've got to discuss things. He doesn't want anyone else listening. But there's been no sign of Dominion activity. The wormhole is acting normally again. It stopped changing, opening after you left. He says, listen closely. Something I need for you to do. Oh, I got Odo working on a pad. He says, it's all yours. I doubt it'll take you long to discover they're here. He's got open classified stuff. Odo says everything he knows he learned from Quark. He's reassigned 400 officers in the past few weeks. He recognizes some of the names. These are all people. Snowden. A lot of people, officers on the Okinawa, they're all people loyal to him. Everybody served under Leighton at one time or other. They're all in key positions on Earth or commanding ships in the sector. He's ordered another set of transfers. Take a look at these dates. They all take effect on the 14th. Flag Day! No, I don't know what day it is. He says maybe Admiral Lathan doesn't intend for the president to make his speech. You better get a copy of this. Says Odo, if Admiral Lathan is planning some kind of takeover on the 14th, you want to make sure Jake and his father are safe. I think you should get him off Earth as soon as possible. And there's a noise at the door. And he says, oh, Captain, I'm surprised to find you here. Just cleaning up some of his files. He says, he'll see you later, Constable. Good night. He says, I hear congratulations are in order. Your promotion. Captain of the Lakota. He says, thanks, but it's still a few days away. Lakota won't be done with its refit until the 14th. So I guess I'll make the 14th a special day. He's looking forward to it. So too bad you won't be around for the ceremony. He's like, I might be able to fit it in. He's like, I thought Leighton ordered you back to Deep Space Nine. He says he did, but I've got some leave coming. I've decided to stay. He doesn't get much time to spend on Earth. And it is so pleasant. A Starfleet officer on every corner. Paradise has never seemed so. He's like, you're a very interesting man, Captain. I'm sorry we didn't get to work together longer. Not like that Geordie LaForge of the Enterprise, always making holograms of me and oogling me with his eyes. He got to the president's office. He didn't expect to see Admiral there. And asked for his arm. He's like, do as he asks. So getting a blood test. And of course, the blood is going to turn because one of them is a shapeshifter. Just as I said, he's a shapeshifter. And Sisko throws down the data pad. He should just say, you know, cut himself with a knife and be like, booyah, but no. Yeah, so you're going to tell me how you faked the blood test? He says, does it matter? He says, I suppose not. As you know, Ben, I stand here looking at you. Best officer who's ever served under me. Trapped in this holding cell. Yes. Life can be damn cruel. Like, let me out. Maybe life will look a little better. Roxanne says, I don't like Sisko in the TNG era uniform. I don't mind it. Like, what are you going to do? Keep me here forever? He's like, no, you'll be free to go in a few days. I mean, yes. After the president's speech. He's like, the president won't be making a speech. I will. He's like, I assume you'll be explaining to the public why it's necessary for Starfleet to seize control of Earth temporarily until the changeling threat has been neutralized. He's like, and how long will that be? Months? Years? Decades? However long it takes. The people deserve strong leadership. Someone who can protect them. In other words, you. Sisko is not pleased. So if you need anything, food, something to eat, just tell the guards. I promise they won't spit in it. nobody knows where Odo is now. I mean, it seems like I would have been worried about Odo. He's getting tired of these blood screenings. He's just tired of giving them. He's like, why don't you give me one of those? Like, you don't really expect me to let down the force field and go in there. And he says, son, there's Odo. Says, Sisko's not the one you should be worried about. I am. And so Odo beats up two people. He's like, it wasn't that difficult since he considered revising security. Like, did you contact Major Kira? Yes, the Defiant's on its way. That must mean they found what they were looking for. It's just as you suspected. They even found the officer responsible. Lieutenant Arriaga. He's on the Defiant. They have to get to the president and tell him everything. And that Lagerman's going to make his move sometime today. He's got some business to take care of, though. And now he takes a phaser. And he understands the situation. He'll do it best. Good luck to the captain. And there's Sisko comes in with a phaser. He's like, are you planning on using that? He's like, against a fellow officer? I hope not. But I will have to ask for your resignation. He says, you'll forgive me if I don't leap at the opportunity. He's like, I have enough evidence to convict you of treason. He's like, do you? We have Lieutenant Arriaga in custody. He's prepared to say that his orders, he attached a subspace modulator on the far side of the wormhole. He's like, why would anyone want to do that? To make it look like cloaked Dominion fleet was entering Federation space. So when Earth power relays were sabotaged, the people would think an invasion was imminent. He's like, that's a very interesting theory. Not going to do you much good. Lieutenant Arriaga is not going to get to Earth. He sent the Lakota to intercept the Defiant. He's like, you think one Starfleet ship is going to fire on another? He says, as far as she's concerned, the Defiant isn't a Starfleet ship. They've been turned. Every one of the Defiant has been replaced with shapeshifters. Because that's believable. Master Roshi says, I really got a thing for this commander. They've raised their shields, powered their phasers, and they've sent a command to be boarded, but you've got Captain Worf, well, not really Captain, Commander Worf in charge. He's like, do you know, even if you win, you still lose. We all lose. He says, I can't say I agree with you. Do you think other Federation worlds are going to let their president be replaced with a dictatorship? He said, it's hardly a dictatorship. He said, overthrowing a legitimately elected president and giving Starfleet control over the government? It sounds like a dictatorship to me. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who thinks so. Says there will be some dissenters at first. They'll fall in line once they realize strengthening our defense is the first step to strengthening the Federation. And Dan23 says, Bird of Prey, in the battle you can see the Defiant has a phaser beam on top of the ship. And Sisko says you could open a Pandora's box that might never be closed. He says, then contact the Defiant and tell them to stand down. He's like, I didn't think so, but don't kid yourself. This Pandora's box. We're opening it together. Master Roshi says a military coup. I thought Starfleet was above such things. Well, Starfleet is, but individuals might not be. He's like, O'Brien says they're bluffing. They're not going to fire on us. They're in weapons range. Worf raises shields. And the Lakota fires on the Defiant. So much for that theory. Port shields are at 60%. Somebody's been upgrading Lakota's weapons. It's a lot of firepower for an Excelsior-class ship. It says, can we cloak? We'd have to lower shields. He says, I wouldn't advise it. He's like, they've upgraded the weapons. Who knows what they've done to the warp drive? No answer to their hails. They're trying to disable our engines. We gotta get them to the medical bay. Like, what do we do, Commander? Fight. Target their weapons. Fire phasers. There we go. Let me see the Defiant. Yeah, yep, there it was. There was the top-mounted phaser. This is one of the best Federation fight scenes. It's Bolian tonic water. Calms the nerves. Live at the Love Shacks is Qapla, Bird of Prey, the Uncrashable. He's like, ironic, isn't it? When you came on board the Okinawa, you were interested in engineering and ship design. I promoted you to Lieutenant Commander. Gave you the post of Executive Officer and taught you everything I knew about being a good leader. Said you were a good teacher. I only wish I taught you more about the importance of loyalty. He said, you want to talk to me about loyalty? After you broke your oath to the Federation, lied to the people of Earth, ordered one of our own starships to fire on another. You don't have the right. He says, you don't understand me at all, do you? He's like, I used to think I did. I used to think you were a man of principle, a man of honor. I see I was mistaken. He's like, I'm sorry you feel that way, Ben. Sisko's like, so am I. The Admiral, we're receiving a message from the Lakota. So he hides the phaser behind the back. He's like, we've been unable to stop the Defiant. Someone's equipped her with a blade of ardor and neglected to inform Starfleet operations. He's like, under no circumstances that ship should reach Earth. The Lakota is carrying quantum torpedoes. Isn't she? She says, then use them. She's like, Admiral, my orders were to disable the Defiant, not destroy her. She said, your orders are to stop the Defiant from reaching Earth at by any means necessary. And Sisko says, Captain, you know as well as I do that there are no shapeshifters on the Defiant. Use those torpedoes and you'll be killing 50 Starfleet officers. She's like, Captain, Bentine knows where her loyalty lies. You have your orders. So Dax says shields are almost gone, but they're in worse shape. One good hit would probably finish them. O'Brien says, and kill everyone on board. Worf says it's not an option. Said, Worf, look at this. Robert Rose Jr. says, hello today, Birdo Prey 5, Mamo Prey, and Sassy. Hope all are doing well today. They're hailing. Their weapons are down. They're hailing on screen. Admiral Layton, we're receiving a message for Captain Sisko from the Defiant. Says, put it through. Do as he says, patching it in. And Worf says, I apologize for the delay, Captain. He's like, the Lakota has powered down its weapon and is allowing us to proceed to Earth. Casualties. Barkley and Ramsey are dead. Several other serious injuries. And there might be as many as 24 casualties on the Lakota. Like, get here as soon as you can. The President is expecting you. He says, that was a mistake, Ben. Now that security knows you're here, they'll come through that door. He's like, it doesn't matter. By now, Odo is talking. He's talking to the President. The President will have all the evidence he needs to stop you. It's not over! I have enough loyal officers to make a fight of it. Like, who are you going to fight? Starfleet? The Federation? Don't you see, Admiral? You're fighting the wrong war. And as for your loyal officers, Bentine's already abandoned you. She was closer to you than anyone. You've lost. Don't make anyone else pay for your mistakes. Takes off his pips, puts them down on the table. And what? You're just going to avoid treason? Like, I hope you're not the one making the mistake. And he just lets him walk out. His comm badge. He takes his pips. Like, I'm going to save these for when I'm an admiral. And all the Federation people, troops are beaming away. The streets are going to seem empty with them gone. Odo said, would you be happy if they stayed? That if they stayed, it wouldn't be Earth anymore, would it? That didn't seem right, all those phasers everywhere. And Odo is like, is something wrong, Odo? Odo's like, am I the only one still worried that there's changelings here on Earth? He's like, worried, I'm scared to death. But I'll be damned if I don't let them change the way they live my life. He's like, if the changelings are going to hurt Earth, they're going to have to do it themselves. We're not going to let them make us do it for ourselves. For them. Oh, they have a good goodbye hug and kiss from the grandfather. He's like, are you sure we can't convince you to come back to the station with us? Like a Creole restaurant would be a big hit on the station. He says, no, they better get going. Don't forget to take your medicine. And see, always such a mother hen. Odo says he means well. Like, take care of yourselves. All you can ask. 3 to beam up. What ship did they use to come to Earth if they didn't use the Defiant? Did they use a random runabout to come to Earth? And they've opened the restaurant, and there's a whole line of people waiting to come in and eat. And he recommends the pasta pradine. It's got quite a kick. It'll make you smile. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, Arabic Sanda with a $2 super chat. Qapla Arabic Sanda. And it says the TNG uniforms look sharp with Voyager comm badges. I would argue they're on DS9 comm badges. DeMarco says, John DeMarco says, didn't they travel on the Lakota? I don't think they traveled on the Lakota. I mean, we didn't see the Lakota at Deep Space Nine. I don't recall. I mean, that would maybe make some sense, but I don't remember it if they did. So, I mean, these were some very good episodes. These were some damn fine acting from Avery Brooks, from whoever that admiral is, from the woman who played Leah Brahm in the past. Great episodes, 2 back-to-back. A great story. We had a real threat that the changelings were there. It was a real, it was ahead of its time. Way ahead of its time. This would have been, more appropriate for 2002, 2003, post 9/11, when we were really thinking about how much freedoms were we willing to give up, after 9/11. The Patriot Act and things like that. This would have been a perfect time for an episode like this. Instead, it happened January 1996. I don't recall, but there certainly weren't any massive, I don't believe there's any massive terrorist attacks that preceded this. Maybe one was the Oklahoma Federal Building bombing. Maybe that, but this was like, really, how much freedom do you give up to maintain safety? And I'd say even right now through 2020, it's still as relevant as it ever was. So it makes it an even better episode. Some of it I agree with, some of it I do not. I do think it was just bad writing to say that they needed to test Sisko's father. That doesn't make any sense. There's a big difference between living on a military base or in a military installation and living in a civilian, just a civilian living in civilian housing. So I think they probably could have come up with a better reason for why they had to test him. But other than that, I thought it was a great episode. We got to see some ship battles. We got to see a upgraded Excelsior class fight the Defiant. We got some really good stuff. Definitely some highlights of season 4. And season 4 in itself is a standout season of Deep Space Nine. So, I tell you, it does not get much better than this, people. It does not get much better than this. And just a few episodes ago, we had Little Green Men. We are in the prime of Deep Space Nine. John DeMarco says, very timely episodes. Dan during 3 says, is the Klingon restaurant gone at this time? I don't think it's gone. Hakeem says, this was such a great episode. Thanks for showing it, Bird. You are welcome, Hakeem. T-Berg. What happened to the chat? T-Berg says, do or do not, there is no shapeshifter. Eastland Burkle, this is great episode. Yeah, not flawless execution of some very good ideas. Absolutely. And then we'll see Red Squad again later in the series. We see Red Squad. Now, it does make it a little weird as to why did Nog not get into Red Squad, or maybe he graduated. I guess he had graduated at that point. But we do see some more Red Squad later. T-Berg says, makes the Admiral's hair blonde and paints his face orange. John DeMarco says, have a good evening all. Qapla, John. Dan says, I think the Xindi weapon story was done because of 9/11. Oh, absolutely it was. Master Roshi says, peace out, Bird. Peace out, Master Roshi. You are welcome, Qapla. And I think with that, guys, we will call this a stream for this double feature of Deep Space Nine. Glad you guys could be here to enjoy it. And so next week, let's see, where does that leave us for next week? Let's see, movies and TV, Star Trek. T-Berg says, Bird of Prey, the Space Engineer server updated and is back up. Thank you, T-Berg. Dee says, Bird of Prey, what a couple of episodes. I have enjoyed them greatly. Thanks for streaming them. You are welcome, guys. And thank you for watching with me. DS9 is best served with friends. Absolutely. So the next episode is Crossfire. And Crossfire is, let's see. Let's see. What's going on? Okay, some Bajoran comes. I think the Bajoran gets Kira's attention. Okay. Yeah, okay. It might not be the best. It might not be the greatest episode, but it looks like it'll be okay. And then after that is Return to Grace, which episode is that? Let's see. Okay. That's a great episode. That's Kira goes on the what's his face? Dukat. I think Dukat captures a Klingon bird of prey, and Kira goes on that. And then we've got Sons of Moog, which is actually quite a depressing episode, if I recall. Yeah, it is. It is. But it's still a good episode. So we got some good stuff coming up. Maybe not as good as Homefront and Paradise Lost, but we got some good stuff. And then Bar Association, Ascension, Rules of Engagement. Oh, that's such a great episode. Hard Time, Shattered Mirror, The Muse, For the Cause. Oh, For the Cause is another great episode. To the Death, The Quickening, Body Parts, and Broken Link. So we got, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 weeks left in the season, 12 weeks till we finish season 4. So that'll bring us to about late February or early March. We'll be moving on to season 5. So that's just to keep that in the back of our minds. Dan23 says, season 4 was my favorite Deep Space Nine season. I agree. I don't know if it's my favorite, but I can certainly understand many people say it's their favorite. Yeah. And Rock Solid says, we want the show, and Dear Bop, not going to be Dear Bop. Sorry about that, Rock Solid. But I am going to be ending the stream. So I want to thank everybody again who came and watched. We had pretty good attendance for a DS9 stream. And tomorrow, look on the lookout for my next Star Trek Discovery review. Of course, Star Trek Discovery drops at 2 in the morning, my time. I'm not planning on waking up at 2 in the morning, but I generally wake up around 3 or 4 a.m. to pee, and so I will just watch the episode at that point, and I will try to put my review out as early as possible. And then at 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow, I will be on Loki's Mornings of Mischief, and we will all be talking about, it gets a big panel, and we will be discussing the latest Star Trek Discovery episode on that panel. Thursday afternoon, if I stream, it will be on the Bird O' Prey 5X channel. And for those who are still not subscribed to Bird of Prey X channel, you absolutely should, because earlier today I uploaded a 3.5-minute Space Engineers clip, and it has a tie-in with Star Trek. I'm not going to give you the details if you haven't seen it, but I strongly recommend you go and watch it. Go to the Bird of Prey 5X channel. You can go to birdoprey5.com and click on the link to go to Bird of Prey 5X channel. It's the most recent video, and everyone who's seen it has said it's hilarious. The best video they've seen in a long time. Quite funny, and if you have any interest in Star Trek Discovery or anything like that, you will probably find the video quite funny. Be aware, I do a quite fair bit of cursing in the video. So, be wary if there's children present. But, yeah, it's some good stuff. So check out Bird of Prey X and subscribe if you haven't already. And Qapla all. And I will see you guys maybe later, probably tomorrow. Bird out. Thank you all for watching my video. Please remember to comment, like, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that bell icon. Without it, you won't get notifications of new videos. Check out birdoprey5.com, the new home of everything Bird O' Prey 5 on the web. You can also check out my forum at juot.net. I'm also on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, and Gab. If you'd like to make a donation, check out paypal.me/birdoprey5 or on birdoprey5.com. Take care.